Something that I've noticed when I work with people who come to me to work with their emotional triggers, whether in my online healing groups, where there's a small group that work together, or one-on-one, that there is a sense of shame around being triggered in the first place. And it's almost like we have the intellect jumping in and judging us and shaming us for being triggered. Like we feel, ashamed, humiliated, embarrassed that we're triggered. But there's also this childlike energy that's contracted and in pain that needs to be held and softened. And the shaming energy contracts that energy further. So it's a huge piece of healing emotionally to kind of fend off that shame and just like look at it and say, no, this part of you, of me, needs holding. We're just not going to go in and talk down to it. We're going to be with it, because an energy that is contracted in fear, the only way that's going to relax and allow energy to flow through again is when it feels safe, when it feels held, when it feels loved. So it's as if we have to silence that inner critic as we work with the triggered energy. So my words when we work with this in a session is just the body. And we just let the story kind of take a back seat until we have been with the energy, the contracted energy. And it really is very much, if you've been a parent or held a small child that's like all tense and angry, and then you wrap your arms around that little body and say, I'm here, I've got you. And slowly the body softens, the energy softens, and then it expands inside. And you know what there's room for when we start to expand inside? Then all of a sudden it's like higher self can come in. Like we become this greater, more expansive vessel for higher self. And higher self is full of love and no judgment and full on healing, loving, present light. And that comes in and takes over, and in the light of that, that tense place inside starts to soften. And then that more rational voice that wants to have a say and come in and say, well, actually, this is what really happened, or this is the story. We can have a communication with that, but we have it from the perspective of our higher self. And all of a sudden that critic, that inner ego-based, mind-based, separation-based voice just has a lot less of a stronghold on us. And that's just amazing to see the wisdom of the higher self flow in when the vessel can relax. So that's really the art of all healing, is relaxing and allowing higher self back in, the spirit back in, which is, of course, that's where the breath practice comes in as well, to really allow breath in, to allow spirit in, to let the mind quiet down enough. Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, Yoga is the cessation of the fluctuation of the mind, that we allow the mind to kind of soften, just to quiet down a little bit. I'm just going to be right here. I'm going to soften enough to open something greater up and allow this light to fill my vessel. And then it's no longer a figuring out thing. Then it's like something that's far wiser and more intuitive and more connected and more loving and more forgiving fills us. And it's like that moment when you look at someone and you just recognize the brother in the other, the light in the other, the namaste. And it's like healing is spontaneous in that moment. Forgiveness is spontaneous. Love and connection is spontaneous in that moment. If you want to do that work, join my next group. We are meeting on Wednesday night, later in November. Take a look at my website. And right now we're meeting on Saturday morning. I'm going to swap the times around a little bit just to see if I can match what different people need. But the power of doing this work in a group, it will show you that whatever issues you have, everyone else has them too. They might have slightly different actors and scenarios and backdrops, but they're just not that different. And that's kind of a relief to realize we're not crazy. And And you might also choose to do this work privately with me. There is something very powerful about have somebody just continuously remind you not to allow the kind of pecking of the ego to torture you as you're trying to hold something that really needs to be held to soften and relax. Peek at my website. I'll put the link below for both of these options, and I know that I would just love to work with as many people as possible to open up this inner space where we all are divinely connected in forgiving, empathic, compassionate love. It really is who we are, even though it doesn't look like it when we look out there at the world presently. But the more of us that can find that place inside of ourselves first and foremost, and then relate to each other from that place, that's the gradual incremental healing of the world, if you ask me. So thanks for listening.